Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. Previously, a scientist worked himself to death and found himself in another world as a boy named Pharma. Pharma learns that he has the ability to create any substance as long as he knows its scientific formula. He can also see any ailments a person has and tell when he has properly diagnosed them. The story continues 3 months after Pharma saved the Empress. Bruno explains that it is being demanded that Pharma make the recipe for the White Death's cure be made public. Bruno thinks that it won't be possible since the cure was actually a miracle from the god of medicine, but Pharma reveals that anyone can make it and he will eventually make a production method public. Pharma believes that sharing useful knowledge is a vital part in humanity making new discoveries. Bruno warns that Pharma's ideals will surely lead to people coming after him, and reveals that someone was actually trying to assassinate the Empress by bringing the White Death to the palace. Pharma doubts this possibility since attempting to assassinate someone with a virus that only has a 10% chance of infection doesn't make any sense. Bruno wonders to himself how long it would take to get Pharma's level of knowledge and has a memory from his past. Later, Pharma is surprised to hear that the Empress is planning to get him a reward and must be forced to understand just how valuable his help has been. His friend Noah is trying to find out what gift he would like most and wonders if it may be money, power, or even territory. Pharma is not interested in any of that though and thinks of his goal of opening a pharmacy, one that will provide safe and affordable medicine to everyone regardless of their social status. The Empress's treatment is going as planned and Pharma speaks humbly about his medicine's effectiveness. The Empress compares this to the confident way he spoke when she was on the verge of death and realizes that he must have been speaking that way to give her the confidence to continue fighting for her life. However, after hearing plans to euthanize her that night, she feels like she has become worthless and questions if she is fit to occupy the throne. Pharma reminds her though that many people depend on her, such as her son and her nation's people. His words prove to be medicine for the heart and make her feel much better. Pharma points out that she has already died once this life and he is certain she will live the next one better. He thinks about how he has done something similar and recommends they both value each and every day. Months later, the Empress has recovered and Bruno brings Pharma to a grand ceremony. Pharma is uncertain if he should be attending such a grand event, but his father reminds him of his status as a noble. The Empress would then honor Bruno for his part in her recovery and for training future pharmacists. In doing so, she also grants him the large territory of Marseille, known for its medicinal herbs. Pharma is shocked to hear that he is to be honored next, and is told that he will be promoted from apprentice to official royal pharmacist. Pharma is given a badge to indicate his status and granted special permission to open a pharmacy in the capital. Construction is set to begin soon after, and Pharma is overwhelmed with all the decisions that must be made. Ellen arrives on orders to help Pharma, and she explains that he shouldn't worry too much since the Empress would probably allow him to rebuild it if it's not to his liking. With this in mind, Pharma begins plans on his dream pharmacy, and everyone watches in amazement. Days later, Pharma would think hard about a name for his pharmacy and takes a moment to appreciate how his dream is finally coming true. He mistakenly says out loud how he never expected the pharmacy to be in a parallel world. The man overseeing the project hears this and assumes that is the name he wants. It is then named the Parallel World Pharmacy, and Pharma laments how it might bring unwanted attention. Ellen explains that confrontation with the Pharmacist Guild is inevitable regardless, because the son of a noble owning a pharmacy is unheard of. Moments later, the head of the Pharmacist Guild named Veron arrives and assumes that Pharma, because of his young age, must only be selling hard candies there. Pharma impresses the man with his knowledge of medicines in the form of candies and wonders if he must join the guild in order to operate his pharmacy. Veron explains that aristocrats are not allowed to apply and offers to make an exception for Pharma, but he declines. Veron anticipated he would and assumes that Pharma will be selling his medicine for a very high price. Veron becomes enraged when Pharma explains that his medicines will be very affordable. Ellen can clearly see that Veron has intentions of destroying Pharma's pharmacy, and he backs off immediately. Pharma and Ellen put the finishing touches on the pharmacy and realize they will need an accountant. Lot arrives to offer her services, but Pharma points out how she is only 9 years old. Lot then points out how Pharma is only 10 years old and pledges her loyalty to him. Pharma agrees to let her do simple jobs, but still needs someone trustworthy to deal with the finances and official documents. Sometime later, Pharma finds that his father had dismissed an employee of his, named Cedric, who had handled the family's finances for several years. The early retirement is for the best though, since Cedric had bad knees and can hardly walk. Pharma asks him to go to his pharmacy where he will help him treat his ailment, and goes to ask his father permission to hire Cedric. Bruno allows him to do as he wishes and gives Pharma a congratulatory gift. He explains that there are several costs associated with starting a new business, and offers a grandfatherly gesture in the form of a bunch of money. Pharma would open his pharmacy days later, and onlookers assume that he is just playing shop with his parents' money. Pharma would prove how serious he is though when he gives a speech. It is about his commitment to providing affordable medicine to every person in the community. A month passes and Pharma reveals that things aren't going how he had hoped. Commoners are choosing to stick with pharmacies run by other commoners, and nobles just have their medicinal needs brought to them. Pharma just wants to help those that need it the most, and La arrives with the results of a survey she conducted all on her own. Her survey reveals that the people in the town are intimidated by the seal outside the pharmacy. Furthermore, they fear that they may be punished for not knowing how to properly speak to a noble like Pharma. They also fear the guards outside and question whether their clothing will be appropriate for a noble's pharmacy. Pharma decided to have the prices be negotiable, but the survey reveals that it made people think the prices would be too high. The group decide to make some changes, including displaying exact prices outside, and they finally get their first return customer. His name is Mr. Jean, and Pharma recommends medicine to prevent scurvy since he is out at sea often. Mr. Jean seems uncomfortable though and leaves the store. Pharma would spot him outside speaking to a group of men but be interrupted by masked customers. Pharma realizes that they are his parents instantly though, and they explain they wanted to visit without interrupting business. Pharma gives a tour where he shows that the first floor is the main store, the second is for medical care and patient rest, the third floor is the break room for employees, and the fourth is a research lab purely for him to develop medicine. Pharma explains that most of their customers are infrequent nobles, and making customers feel comfortable there is their main issue. His mother comes up with the idea to sell cosmetics to the rich. Once it becomes popular, commoners will look to buy them as well if they are cheap enough. Bruno wants Pharma to promise never to use white face powder though, since he has noticed that those that use it tend to have a shorter lifespan. Pharma is once again amazed at how his father was able to conclude this just with observation. Bruno points out how some women are even resorting to having blood drawn to achieve pale skin, and compliments his wife on being beautiful the way she is. Just then, Pharma's assistance is urgently requested and he arrives to find a very pale woman. Inspection using his divine eye reveals that she has multiple cuts on her arm and wonders if it was self-harm. The incisions were too precise though, and he determines that it was actually the procedure his father spoke of. The girl is treated at the pharmacy and reveals that she had been rejected by someone that prefers women with pale skin. She is persistent about having pale skin and Pharma warns her of the dangers of continued use of the procedure. He then gives her medicine to help with the anemia and infections of her wounds. She is adamant about continuing the procedure and wanting to still use white face powder. She believes it's the only way she can be desirable, and Pharma thinks of an idea for a cosmetic that she will have to return in a week for. In the meantime, we see that Pharma tests on himself a prototype for the cosmetic. Ellen is worried since white powder is dangerous, and his prototype is very white. Pharma explains though that his is made of all safe ingredients unlike other cosmetics. Ellen explains that the others should be banned for being so harmful, and Pharma plans to bring it up to the Empress. Chloe returns and is shocked to see that he has chosen to replace the white powder with a cream. It comes with several other benefits and will block the sunlight from tanning her skin. His skincare line also comes with moisturizers and makeup remover among other things. Chloe is extremely impressed and grateful for him finding a safe way to achieve the look she is going for. Chloe is actually the daughter of a famous entrepreneur, and her influence helps them spread the word of their cosmetics. The group offer free samples while explaining the immense benefits compared to traditional cosmetics. The people of the town are very impressed that high-quality products used by nobles are being offered at such an affordable price. The group's plan works perfectly as tons of people flock to the pharmacy for the cosmetics. The immense traffic has also led people to realize how affordable the medicine and treatment is there. Word of mouth spreads even more and business begins to boom. Unfortunately, production can't keep up with the sudden demand and Pharma's employees are becoming overwhelmed by all the customers. Chloe comes up with an idea for becoming business partners where her family will open a subsidiary for Pharma's cosmetics. Cedric believes it's a good idea and Pharma decides to do it. With that, the second parallel world pharmacy opens and it specifically handles the cosmetic branch. Chloe was able to find top-notch pharmacists to work there and explains it was easy because their previous employers fired them after becoming pregnant. Pharma wants to create a better working environment and decides to implement maternity and family leave to all their workers. Later, Lot reveals the findings of her latest survey that shows the public's perception has changed. They have grown more fond of Pharma and realize now that the prices are very affordable. Pharma thanks all his employees for all they have done to achieve recent success, and they all celebrate. Days later, Pharma and his father travel to the land gifted to Bruno by the Empress. It is the land of Marseille, and it is a prominent trading port in the nation. Most importantly though, it is a major producer of medicinal herbs. Bruno is given a report on the nation's well-being and conflicts with neighboring nations. Pharma isn't required to be there for it though, and it is recommended that he go see the ocean. When he arrives at the beach, he is greeted by Blanche, who desperately wants to go for a swim. Pharma is hesitant to let her though, since his father warned against it. Lot wants to go as well, and the two promise to only dip their feet in. Pharma relents as long as they don't go in and finds Ellen watching nearby. She explains that no one is around to see and removes her dress so she can go for a swim. Pharma explains that he is still there to see, but it's too late, she has already bared it all. Pharma is a bit hesitant to go in the water himself, even though he enjoys swimming. He has a memory from his other world that shows he had to deny his sister from swimming because she was too young. Soon after that, her illness would be discovered and she would never have another chance to swim again. Pharma wallows in sorrow when Blanche gets swept into the ocean and cries for help. The past Pharma never knew how to swim, so everyone is surprised to see him spring into action. The current is far too powerful, and Pharma begins to wonder if he is going to lose his little sister in this world as well. The water won't let him get close, but Pharma refuses to let his sister fall out of reach. The markings on his arm activate once again, unleashing a large beam of light. Ellen gathers herself and is stunned when she sees that Pharma is doing all he can to hold the water back. She realizes that isn't what's happening though, as the sand beneath her feet is dry, and can't understand what he is actually doing. After returning to the shore and finding that Blanche is not injured, Pharma explains that he isn't even sure what he did to the water. He assumes it must have just been his negative attribute skills, but Ellen can't believe it. Negative attributes should only be able to decrease the amount of substance, but Pharma managed to completely annihilate it. Pharma fears his own powers for a moment, but Ellen makes him realize how amazing it is that he was able to save Blanche. That night, Pharma realizes that he didn't just eliminate the water molecules since there was no salt left over afterwards. This means that he must have eliminated the seawater itself. Any slip-ups and he could have seriously harmed the girls near him by removing the water in their bodies. Pharma can't blame the girls for being terrified of his power and tries to promise Lot that he won't do it ever again. He asks that she try not to be too afraid of him, but Lot explains that she was actually just in awe of his heroism. However, she is sorry for not being the one to save Blanche, but Pharma explains that he is glad she didn't risk her life since he considers her to be like family. She claims that he has set her free with his kind words and heads to bed. When he is alone though, Pharma explains that he was the one that was actually set free. Elsewhere, a man receives a report stating that a boy with no shadow had completely erased seawater without a wand. It sounds like a child's tale, but a priest's inspection of the area revealed abnormal divine power accumulations. The man in charge demands that the heretic be found, and if the rumor is true, he is to be eliminated. Later, Pharma reopens shop after returning from the trip and finds that they are busier than ever. They discuss how they won't be able to go on any other trips for a while, when Pharma notices a couple of mysterious men that walk away when he approaches them. The group later discussed the suspicious pair. They noticed how they clearly weren't interested in buying anything, and the robes seemed to be that of temple priests. Early next morning, a couple guards open the gates to the pharmacy when a carriage comes crashing in. Upon hearing the report, Bruno determines someone is trying to disrupt Pharma's business and claims it to be a proclamation of war on the Médicis family. Bruno would like to know of any suspects Pharma has in mind, but Pharma doesn't want him to act too fast and asks for some time to gather information first. Pharma returns to the pharmacy to find it in bad shape when it is explained that the carriage was filled with sediment. Cedric is able to purify the sediment but is unable to remove the sediment itself, and Mr. Jean shows up with his crew to help. Others in the community are grateful for everything Pharma has done and offer a helping hand. Just then, a girl cries out for Pharma's help as her father has collapsed from being in the heat too long. The supportive community urge him to go as they promise to care for the pharmacy while he is gone, and he rushes off. Pharma prepares for what he determines must be heat stroke, but is surprised to see that the girl has disappeared. The white-robed men surround Pharma and explain that they are Inquisitors from the Holy Kingdom. They recognize him as the boy with no shadow and demand to know if he was the one that erased the sea. Thanks for watching part 2, all other parts will be in a pinned comment below.